Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hunting Unicorns platform. My name is Damian Chipley Marshall, and this is our latest news update as of the, the 24th of June, 2024. Man, the time's just flying by. First, before I begin today, I actually wanted to give a really big thank you to everybody who's been subscribing to the channel and liking videos. While we're not monetized by YouTube and we don't have any plans to be monetized by YouTube, it's really great to see positive affirmation for some of the things that we've been doing. So thank you so much for that. It's really greatly appreciated as we're moving forward with what we're doing. And as is often the case, it's been very quiet on the surface because there's been a lot of things happening in the background. We've been showing our work a lot over the past couple of weeks. As I'm doing my master's at the Royal College of Art, of course, we're sharing what we're doing with them. But we also had an opportunity to share our project at Imperium College, which was a really great meeting. We had there was some really great conversations that came out of that, and we even had an opportunity to brainstorm some ideas that I think would be really beneficial to pursue as we continue working with the processes that we're doing. But along with that, we've also been working on some publication material for our presence at BBC White City on the big screen. We're going to be advertising our show that's going to be starting in July 25th. And we're also going to be advertising, we believe we're going to be advertising at Tottenham Court Road at Outernet, which are both really large visible venues. So I've been putting together the trailers for that just so we can make sure that we're keeping people interested in what we're doing. But back to those conversations that have been happening over the past couple of weeks. As I said, they've been really positive. There's been some, feedback. There's also been some concerns about strategy and whatnot. And a lot of those conversations have been really important to help us do what I really think that we need to do at this point. I definitely need to do it because as my assessment's coming up in 2 weeks, I do really need to start refining exactly what I'm going to be handing in, but I think it's also really important for the platform to be really specific about what we're doing because it's felt a little amorphous lately. It's been really good work, but we've been kind of pursuing a little bit of a therapeutic angle with some of the stuff that we've been doing in creating virtual actors and having them tell stories and then listening to those stories told back. We've even been pursuing like a little bit of a beneficial thing that, generative AI could get people interested in creative practices. It's a really powerful thing to see your idea brought to life just with prompting. Actually being able to see a physical representation of an idea you created is really powerful. I've talked to a couple of people about the potential that has, and I think I've mentioned it on the site as well, of how, considering how public education does not pursue the arts, does not encourage people to think creatively, which if you follow philosophers like Sir Ken Robinson and people like that, that's a real tragedy to people because we need to think creatively, particularly as the future is starting to become more and more uncertain. That puts all of that power in the wealthy and privileged who are going to charter schools and public schools. So yeah, it's just, we've been kind of, it's very philosophical at the moment, but we do see generative AI as kind of a way of leveling that playing field. And on top of that, of course, there's also raising awareness around how children are being raised in fundamentalist communities. And also, just giving people who were raised in those communities an offer to, a chance to speak to their experiences in a safe environment. So all of those have been going on at the same time. And while all of those are really important, and I think it's really important for us to share what we've discovered and work collaboratively with other people who could direct those aspects of the project much more ethically and professionally than we can, I think it's really important for us to kind of step back and acknowledge what our position in this community is. At our heart, we're storytellers. And even though the things and the processes and technologies that we've been experimenting with have yielded some really interesting results, and I think there is a possibility of us fitting in kind of a therapeutic sort of context. But in order for us to pursue that, we would have to be in at least a 50-50% collaboration with a mental health care professional, and possibly a group of them as they start doing clinical trials. We can't ethically pursue that just as storytellers who are working in, kind of working with mental health care professionals as consultants. It needs to be a very direct collaboration. I think generative AI has some fantastic possibilities in helping people kind of reconnect with their creativity. But now that we've worked with generative AI a little bit more, I have some notes. And we're definitely going to pursue it, and I think we're going to keep on using it, but we're currently looking at how we can make our own models and try to avoid some of the ethical issues that I think we've been running into as we've been working with the stuff. But that's something that we're going to save for the generative AI tutorials, which I'll be starting again fairly soon, as they are actually on my production schedule for today. But yeah, I think it's just really important that we keep focusing on what our process is good at, because our storytelling process really lends itself well for working, kind of the way that we work. We're able to give participants a great deal of time, as much time as they want, in order to tell and develop their stories. On our end, even if we're doing custom assets, production time is about 2 weeks. If we have all of the information, and during that time we can make sure that we can trial ideas with folks and make sure they're happy when they go up on the site. So I think it's not necessarily that we're doing anything different. We're just focusing and making sure that our language is very specific. And on that note, who do we work with? We've opened it up to the possibility of working with pretty much anybody who wants to talk to us. And while we're still very open to talking to you if you want to, I think we do need to be specific that we prefer to work with people who have gone through a religious deconstructive journey and are now feeling fairly stable in their lives. This is partially in response to some feedback that we've gotten with some therapists and just kind of our own experiences as well. The upshot is, if you are on a deconstructive journey and this has been brought about by some kind of trauma or something that's happened that you're not able to reconcile with the faith that you were originally given, it's much easier for you to potentially re-trigger that trauma the closer you are to the event. And the further along you get down the road and the further you get away with it, the more comfortable you're going to be talking about it, and the more stable you're going to be in talking about it, I guess is the best way to put it. And we think that that's very important. Now, if you are feeling, no, I definitely want to get my story out there, we of course are not going to cut you off. But what we are going to ask, if you're considering this, is, as we say in our kind of introductory video, do consider letting somebody that you trust in your life know what you're doing. Show them our materials. And if you're working with a coach, a therapist, or a counselor, show them our materials. Make sure they know what you're setting yourself up to do, and just listen to their recommendations. It could be that you're okay, ready to go, and it could be that this is helpful for you. But our ultimate goal is we do want to make sure that people are healthy in telling their story. And on that, who are we telling these stories for? I think it's incredibly important, and I think this comes back to our motivation and also with the work that we've been doing, is that it's incredibly important to show people that there is life after fundamentalism. Because very often people feel as though there isn't. People who grew up in a very rigid, fundamentalist society believe that everything outside that community is just the realm of Satan, and that it's awful and scary, and that you're going to go to hell, and kind of all of those things. And when people start religiously deconstructing and they can't reconcile what they're feeling with their community and they have to leave it, that leaves them adrift. They don't know where to turn to. So I think it's very important that we focus on providing stories that show you're not alone. There's other people who have gone through this. There's hope. There's support. And there's other ways of looking at things. You can still keep your faith. You can abandon your faith. It's up to you. And I think we want to curate stories that kind of have that message. We do need to talk about the real issues. Absolutely. But I think what we also need to talk about is that people are becoming aware of them, and people are starting to support each other as people are coming out of these communities and feeling a little lost and unsure of where to go next. And I see us working with that, which is why we're now rebranding the site to be hunting unicorns, life after fundamentalism. We feel this is a really good direction for us. So over the next couple of days, you're going to be seeing the website and the YouTube channel sort of changing its branding to accommodate that. But it's nothing really major. It's just that that's how we're making sure that we're refining our direction to where we're doing the best job that we possibly can do independently as storytellers. Making sure that, you know, our participants are safe, making sure these stories get out there, and making sure that they have a message that can, you know, have a benefit to the community that we want to reach out to and build. And ultimately, nothing really much has changed. We're just doing what we continue to do, sharing the results of all the experiments that we did, but from here on out, we are going to be refining kind of the direction that we're going. Another thing that we've had to look at is how we can guard data of participants that are working with us. And the upshot of it is we do our best, but we live in the world that we live in. So as we delete everything that's on our hard drives that we no longer need to create your performances. And if you sent us an email that had something attached to it and we have downloaded it, we delete that. Once it's no longer necessary to the performance, we delete that. If you eventually decide that you don't want your story up on the site anymore, and even if you want the story completely destroyed after we've made it, we delete it. But you do need to be aware that we use third-party software. So for example, transferring live link data. These are massive files, even if you're keeping it to the 1 minute. Our current process is that we set up a Google Drive folder that we share with you. Only you have access to it through your email account. You upload your stuff. As soon as we've uploaded that, we delete it from the Google Drive. We do the performance, and then of course we delete it on our drive. But like I said, you do need to be aware that we use third-party software. We are going to be putting up the privacy policies of all the programs that we work with. So please make sure you understand those. I believe that we're fairly safe, but of course, in the current world that we live in, you can never assume that data is completely protected. So it's just something where we've had to take that on board and just make sure that people who are working with us are aware of it. But, you know, ultimately, like I said, on our end, we delete everything pretty much as soon as we're done with it, we get rid of it. Okay, I think that's everything. In summation, we're doing exactly what we always were doing with pretty much the same motivation. We're just becoming a little bit more specific in the language, and our material is going to change just to reflect the specificity of that direction. And we are going to be talking with other people that, other people about some of the things that we've discovered in the processes that we've been trialing. Because we are very excited about potentially talking to other people and kind of branching out into other projects that are connected to this one. But just know we're looking for collaborations. We're very interested in some of the things that we've discovered during this journey. We want to pursue them, but you know, for the time being, it's just really important that we acknowledge what our presence is in this community. And I think it's looking up from here. I really do. This is one of the first times where I've really been happy with with my art kind of having a potential benefit to society. So I'm super stoked about it. My collaborator, my mother, is also super happy with some of the stuff we've been doing. And it's also been helping us as well. It's been really great to kind of gain better insight into these communities, because we both grow up kind of, you know, hating our community, and that translated into hating Christianity, not really fully understanding that it was a much wider sort of spectrum than it is, and that there's, you know, yeah, it's just been very eye-opening. So Thank you very much for working with us as we continue down this. We're going to continue to do this just as the best we can and as ethically as we can. And of course, that's going to, as we start working more with community members, there's going to be more changing, more updates, but we promise we're going to try to make sure that we maintain the same goal of being healthful to, being positive and helpful in continuing the conversation around these social issues. So thank you very much. Have a great day. And yeah, thank you again for letting us do what we're doing.